Welcome to the Kawartha Small Business Podcast, where we believe the Kawarthas can be the most thriving region in Canada for small businesses. I'm Brian Rump from Profit Coach.
And I'm Matt Geraghty from Matty G Digital.
And we are recording from the Thrive Podcast Studio at Thrive Co-working Community, downtown Lindsay, Ontario at 18 Kent Street West. All right, Matt, we are sitting here in almost empty Thrive. How does that make you feel?
Good, fine. I don't know what the correct positive word is. I feel like you are expecting me to say something emotional or sad.
No.
But I don't have that. I don't have that feeling. And I talked to Hillary from State of Mind Hypnosis about that the other day. And she's like, it probably already would have come. Probably.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been. I'm sitting here now, and I did reflect on this like a couple seconds ago before we started, and I'm looking at the chaos of what's left here. And there's just nothing. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but like there's nothing there. Yeah. Maybe in a positive way, like just nothing. It's like, hey, this was something, and it's time to move on.
Yeah, I love that. I wasn't expecting anything specific. I think for our listeners, we're recording or releasing back to back. We had our kind of conversation we recorded, and then things moved fairly quickly. I think we could maybe dig into that on another episode. But I was just looking like it's been like a 5-6 week process, and suddenly you're moving and everything's done. And
that's what I'm looking at now. Do you remember when we recorded that last time, like 45 days ago?
I know I got an email from Meg on April 22nd. I looked it up today. We're recording this May 30th. And we had the conversation the week before, I think.
It was on the 17th or the 18th, the Wednesday or the Thursday. Yeah, it was like
5
days ago.
All of a sudden, there's like, because in my mind, it was like, these things take a while, and it could take a while for the landlord to find someone else. And like, you ask for what you want, but you don't always get that. And you got it. And it just, in my mind, I was like, oh, we got, May and June probably. And then it's like, oh, and by the way, please move your stuff out in a few weeks. So like, it's just moved fast. I think I love this as a case study of like making decisions and how things we could worry about or fret about just have a way of working out. So the fact that you're not really feeling anything, you're focused on the future. This wasn't like a crash and burn decision. It was I'm going to find a different way to accomplish what I want decision. And I love that.
Yeah. I think people listening are probably like, wow, that happened so quickly, 45 days. And like, he's probably moving too quickly or he hasn't thought about it. But realistically, I've been thinking about this for years, right? Like when we opened in October 2021, was it? Yeah, something like that. That's when we got the keys. So it's been spending a lot of money since that date. And it's always been a stressor. And I actually thought about closing for the first time like 6 months ago in November. Where the stress, I was rethinking all the marketing stuff that we're doing. And I actually I sat down and looked at all of this. And I'm like, not that we got all this stuff wrong, but it was like, there was such a shift in direction. And I was like, holy smokes, this is going to be so much work. And I was like, it'd just be easier to close this down. Maybe it's just kind of close this down. And I buried the thought, which I'm very good at, of had this idea, buried it.
And we got to do that sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then went through that, did all that. That took forever to get up and done. Still not done. All the little pieces that I had in play. But then in therapy, it came up about what was like really weighing me down and I think depressing me. And I didn't admit it to Hillary at the time because she's a part of Thrive too, to me, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to admit that and confess that in front of her that I was thinking about closing it. Because at that point I wasn't, but it came up of like, hey, what's this bit? What is it that's literally killing you right now? And I realized it was that. And then I left that session and I went home and I thought about what life was going to be like without Thrive. And I let myself, and I was like, wow, this sounds awesome. All the things, I can't remember exactly what they were. I could rhyme them off, maybe make them up now, but it just sounded really good. And then those conversations with Maggie G were hard. Really, really, really hard. Not pleasant type of thing. I think she never really wanted this. And for me then to kind of admit and confess, and I wasn't hiding it, but just the idea of like my I don't know, mind or body now is ready to make that decision, that was hard.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it moved quickly because it was money and a lot of money. We're losing a lot of money. We made money. There's a part of me that still is like, I feel like I was lying to people, which I wasn't. People are like, hey, how is Thrive going? I'm like, it's good. It's growing. And it was.
Yeah.
It was generating revenue, a few $1,000s a month. But we were frankly still losing like 5 to 8. We weren't where we needed to be. And like, I remember looking like the day that I kind of made the decision and like doing some like math and projections in my mind. I'm like, we could be 2 or 3 more years away from breaking even monthly. Just break even. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was thinking about managing digital, and one of the podcasts we recorded was like how I lost how much
6,400 or 7,400 or something like that.
And I was fine with it. And I actually was fine with it. But I think that was also a turning point.
Yeah.
Because a couple days later, I was like, this is baloney. Because me losing accounts for Managing Digital should not be that big of a deal right now.
Yeah.
The amount of money that it makes and the amount of accounts that we do and the work that we do, there shouldn't be a problem. But every time I lose a Managing Digital account, it crushes Thrive even more.
Yeah.
Because Managing Digital was supplementing Thrive for all those months.
Yeah.
So that got frustrating. So I don't know where I'm going with all this, but I remember like, again, telling people that like Thrive is good, it's growing, and it was, but it just wasn't where it needed to be.
Yeah.
And I got sick and tired of the fight for Thrive. The fight for other things too, but the fight for Thrive. I'm like, I don't want to fight this anymore.
Yeah.
I remember I ranted with you and Schaff that morning, and you didn't know yet, but it was that Monday, and I was like,
I kind of knew.
I was just beat. I was so beat. I was like, sick of fighting all these fights, and I'm like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, you get to choose the fights you fight, and that's the one thing I love about your decision is, it's a great example of, I talk about things like sunk cost fallacy all the time, which is an economics thing, and it's true. And oftentimes we tell ourselves these stories of the fights we need to fight to get what we want, and they're never right. But you get to choose it. So it's like, for you, there's nothing wrong with the model. I think there's use for it. I think the fight is, though, to find enough people and convince them what it is. And when you have to choose which fight you're fighting each day, it's like, it's less of a fight to sell someone on Managing Digital and do that work.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a case of capacity and then just choosing what you want to be fighting for. And you made a great choice. And yeah, it was burning money, and now you burn less money.
Absolutely.
So like, I respect the hell out of that decision, because so few people will make it, yet it's the right decision. You're already happier. It was right. If you fast forward a year or 2 years from now, like, you'll probably net be happier, closer to what it is you want to create. And along the way, you created something that was awesome.
Yeah, like maybe it did what it was supposed to. Maybe that was all it was supposed to do. And I won't name everybody's name, because not to sound like an Oscar speech, but I don't want to forget somebody.
Yeah.
All the people at Monday Morning Coffee that we met, that I'm friends with now and you're friends with, and we've connected those people, and they've become friends and colleagues and business partners and things. Like, maybe that's what it was supposed to do. Maybe we did everything that we were supposed to.
It did what it was supposed to do. Probably not the scale as fast as maybe originally intended, but there's just lots of pieces of this as like a case study where You don't want to label it as right or wrong or judge it, but it did a lot of things, and you learned a lot.
Yeah.
Right. You probably, you and Maggie G going through that stuff together, learned a lot about yourselves and each other, and like that's going to serve you really well.
Oh, absolutely.
Going forward.
We moved stuff yesterday and our marriage almost ended, but we're through that now.
Okay.
So that's close call at the end there.
Yeah.
You get really tired and heated, but the only thing that's making me a bit like giving me emotions, and I was talking to Hillary about this the other day again, was when someone will say something not even good about Thrive, where I'm like, yeah, I know. It's more so about when people are frankly criticizing other co-working spaces locally. And in my head, I'm like, we did the exact opposite. We knew that and we were doing it better.
Yeah.
And we still weren't where we needed to be.
Yeah.
So that was like, that's the only thing that makes me a bit, like, I don't know what emotion it is, but it brings up an emotion.
Yeah.
Or it rattles me. Because like you said too, like the model makes sense. The biggest concern of mine when I decided this, on the top of my list was like, I need an office. I can work from home to some degree, but it's not perfect, and I need an office. I think legitimate professional businesses have offices. Eastman asked me one time leaving the boardroom, he was like, well, where are you going to meet clients? I'm like, I know, I have to get that sorted out, right?
Yeah.
Like that's for a real legitimate business, you have to have an office. I'll fight on that hill forever.
And there's just something about face-to-face that you don't need it a lot. So it's a great model. Yeah. I think there's some people didn't understand it. For me, the closing of Thrive has made me realize and understand or rethink how I work, even because I always had this vision of, professional guy in office. And now I'm like, do I really need that? You need a place to meet clients sometimes, and you need environment is really important.
Yeah.
But I don't think enough people went through that process of actually seeing it, because a day or two a week at a co-working space can make a massive shift and difference in your business. And even just the externalities of meeting different people and connecting.
Yeah.
Like you think of all the relationships formed through Thrive would never have happened randomly without it. And to have more people understand that is like the magic question of like how to do that. And I think locally, small business, there's just a lot of people are scared and afraid and they don't go out and connect because there's no opportunities to, and then they don't hunt for those opportunities either or want to pay for them. And it's just a fight that you don't need to fight to convince everyone of that.
Yeah, I'm happy not to have that fight. I feel better already. I think I felt better. It was really hard the first week of telling people and certain people. I told you first. That was hard. Telling Jess, who works with us, was really hard. That was like, I was paralyzed, and Meg was like texting me because she's like, are you going to say something? I'm like, I can't move. Like, I'm so uncomfortable with this. She's like, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, you start it, but I cannot physically start this conversation.
Yeah.
Which is like a whole other conversation. But anyways, telling her was hard. Rochelle. I'm probably missing people, but those were like honestly the big ones. Yeah. And then after that, it like got easier. I did a big text of a lot of people, and then people started to hear. Now I don't really care.
Yeah, it's like that's the other thing. You move on quickly. It's like, well, you made the decision.
Yeah,
you're happier and happier with it. Like, after it, and it's like dead to you now in a way, and everyone else might be catching up, but that's done and over with.
I wondered about reputation at first. Like, I had a list of things like, how do I kind of like help these or save these things? And that kind of went away quickly, talking to a couple people, not about that specifically, but we're moving yesterday into this new office, right? And it reminds me of a medical building where you walk in and there's like 10 different suites that you can go into. So some guy helps us open the door because Meg and me are on the brink of ending our marriage, moving this massive table through. And he was like, hey, I think his name was Greg. He's like, hey, I'm Greg. Shakes my hand. I'm like, hey, I'm Matt Geraghty. And he was like, I read all about you. Like, you can tell, right? He's looking at me and he's like, I read all about you. And it made me think, like, it doesn't matter. Thrive doesn't matter in a way. Like, I'm Matt. I'm Matty G.
Yeah, people don't think as much as you think. Like, people worry about reputation, but I think there's like kind of this weird, it's like a fake cloud that people think all of these things really matter, but I don't think it matters.
You hear about like the Lindsay elite that we joke about.
Yeah.
And all the stories.
They don't even know who you are.
No, like, but all the gossip and the stories you hear about them hasn't stopped them. They're plugging along. They're perceivingly still making money and doing new stuff.
Yeah, they're doing their things, yeah.
It hasn't been a thing. So I thought like ego felt bruised for a while, but then again, a lot of people kind of not reaching out or having conversations with them. It's been interesting. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't think about it for a second. I didn't know what people were going to say, but it was a lot of congratulations. It was a lot of Luke McCogg said something. It was like, well, congratulations on like the astute business decision. Yeah. And I was like, cool. Thank you.
It's a big, like, it's people often don't make those decisions. I've worked with hundreds of businesses who won't make decisions like that. They will just keep losing money, or you were like aware and trying to like take steps. Some people don't. They kind of give up and they just hope something changes.
I couldn't do that.
And they'll drag it on for years and years and years. And it's really frustrating to watch, but like, it's good to move it. They're take it and move on. And if I look at like what real successful entrepreneurs go through, they have all sorts of stories like that. Like you have to try stuff and it usually never works the way you think, but you just have to keep moving and making those decisions.
Oh, that's something really funny. And I almost feel like it was like the last nail in the coffin of things that I was trying and I thought this would help and change something. Like a week or two before we decided to close, we redid the boardroom. Right? Yeah. I was like, the boardroom's boring. It's very clinical. It's very just white. It's beautiful, but also it's very boring. You don't leave that room and think, man, I have to go back and work there again. And that's what I wanted. So we did like this textured wall and we painted half of it and all this stuff, right? And then I'm so proud of it. Like, this looks so good. It needs a couple more things, but like, this is going to be the thing that just changes everything. And this is not a slap in the face to Sheila at all. But Sheila comes in and she's been in this room more than once. And she comes in here for the first time, the brand new boardroom. She did not notice it.
Yeah.
And that to me was like, it just doesn't matter. Not that we're not focused on the right things, but like,
I don't think you weren't wrong.
It did. No, I was.
But
like,
it wasn't the big factor.
No, it wasn't like I was looking at all this stuff in one way, and then people and the consumer, like Sheila, using our boardroom, was like, didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
And I was like, it just doesn't matter. And that was, to me, I've been looking back on it. Like, that was one of the last things I was like, what are we doing here? What am I fighting this fight for?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's the case in so many businesses, and we make the assumption that people know what we know or are like in it caring as deeply as you care. I think about this when I worked for banking. You know, we'd have these little kind of raw meetings about clients, and I remember then thinking like, no client is thinking about their banking as much as we are every day. Like, and they're just like, oh, I don't even care. And like, and some people switch banks and it's like devastating to like the people who lose the account. And it's like, there's nothing personal. They just don't actually care that much. And sometimes they just switch because they switch. Like, there's not even, it's not even a deep thing, right? Or who knows? Like, it's not always what you think it is. Or I talk with a lot of realtors, right? They'll talk to somebody and then lose a deal, right? They'll see a for sale sign on a house for someone they talked to a million times, and that person's like, oh, I forgot you were a realtor when I actually went to like sell it.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating and hurtful, but you have to remember that sometimes. Like, people just don't care about the same things.
Nobody cares more about you than you care about you.
Yeah.
I learned years ago, and it's the same with your business. Nobody cares more about your business than you do. So, like, you have to do marketing. You have to send out those emails. You have to ask for those reviews. Like, they're not going to happen on their own.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah. So
that reminds me, I have a few people ask me for reviews, and I'm like, totally fine to do it, but I want to write them a certain way, and I just keep forgetting to do it. And it's nothing about them. They're probably like, anyway, it's just funny like that. Awesome. So this is the last podcast. It's recorded from Thrive.
Yeah. The podcast studio never took off either. It's actually fascinating too if you like, there's so many elements to this and so many facets. Like, this cost a fortune, and we weren't even like, it wasn't even perfect. We could have easily spent twice as much.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe it would have been perfect, but maybe not. And then does it matter? Do people even know about the painted walls?
Yeah.
Sheila wasn't the only one either, but she was the first one, and I was like, huh. And then I can name, I'm pretty sure Kelly.
Yeah.
Vicky, those two. And then someone else eventually came in, and maybe even Janice, who was like, why does this room look different? I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
But to me at that point, it was like the ship had sailed. But anyways, yeah, it's fascinating to think about. Even if we put more money into things, like, would it have mattered? So it's not perfectly soundproof, which drove me crazy. But also, if you think back on any office, like professional office you worked in, those are not soundproof.
Yeah, nothing's perfect.
But then to fully make it soundproof, it was going to cost a literal fortune.
Yeah.
And like, would that have mattered? Right? Like, at what point do we just stop? Like, at what point, and I'm going to use this like as much as we can, like, at what point do we realize like the wall color doesn't matter?
Yeah.
Right? Like, people don't notice. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about. And what's good is it's not, you don't do it to sort of beat yourself up or go back in time and change things, but it's a good reminder for whatever your next big project or venture is like understanding some of that stuff.
I think I'm going to force myself really hard to focus on managing digital.
Yeah.
Not that I have other ideas that I want to do. I don't have that many.
You have some on the list that I have to not let you do ever.
Like buy the movie theater?
Yeah.
I want to do that so bad. I was thinking about that recently. Like, I gotta tell Brian so he can tell me to stop. But yeah. There's little things like golf stuff actually that I never even told you.
Yeah.
And they're just complete distractions.
Yeah.
And they're complete things that are like, hey, this is just fun, and this would be cool to use my talents and a couple other friends' talents and do some cool stuff. I'm not going to do that. There's a little small piece of starting point that's still around that I'm going to completely crush by the end of this year and absorb like all of it with Managee and like frankly kill it completely. There's some value from the pages. The pages are still ranking. The starting point SEO page ranks better than the Managee digital SEO page.
Yeah.
So like there's stuff I can do. I'm going to fully absorb it and then kind of do a model of like good, better, best type of thing. We'll call it starting point, like whatever.
Yeah.
That'll be it. That'll be the extent of it. And then it's just all Managee digital all the time. It might be more consulting. It might be more management. It might be some coaching stuff with marketing, but like that's it. And forcing myself to do that. Just like the new office. Meg's like, you cannot do anything to this office other than paint. I'm like, deal.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what if they bought the flooring and so she's like, just the paint. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
After a year, like I'm not gonna force myself. Like, don't get like even blind. Like, just go in there, see what it's like, and move on.
See what the next year brings. You just never know what you're gonna want.
Exactly. So I don't have too many distractions right now, and I'm actually loving that. because I feel as if I have so much mental capacity
Yeah.
for everything else now. I think I'm a better partner. I know I'm a better dad of late. My work with Managing Digital is better. I told my clients too that I worked with, I'm like, if you've been happy with my work the last couple of years, it's going to get a lot better.
Yeah.
Because this has been a massive distraction for me. Almost.
What I love about this is you've balanced it so well, and you've ingrained all of these habits that you need.
Yeah.
That to now focus on managing digital with that same framework is like, I get so excited about it because I see all sorts of like future things I want to nudge you to do that I just think will be easy for you to do. Like, it's not go create yourself some more problems. It's more, how do you use this same capacity and structure you have to maximize it?
Yeah. I purposely try not to bombard you with stuff. And I've been making notes so when we meet, I'm like, hey, here's a like meeting list.
Awesome.
Because like my mind is flowing in a positive way. But also it wasn't like it was years ago, where it was flowing like the rapids, let's say.
Yeah.
And it was kind of chaos. Right now,
And
it's
it's distraction.
It's a stream of like, oh, here's a nice idea, and we can work on that. But before, when I first started, it was like rapids, and you're guiding yourself around all this stuff, and it was chaos. My mind now is moving at a very good pace, and I've recently even realized in the last couple months, like, it's probably been years of like trying to like practice more mindfulness and therapy and hypnotherapy and everything, but I sit down sometimes outside or at the end of the day when my kids are in bed, or I'll sit there and just stare out the window, and I'm like, I have nothing going on in my brain.
Yeah.
And I'll think about that, and I'm like, I'm not thinking about anything.
Yeah.
And I've not thought about nothing in years, and I love it.
That is the compounding effect of doing that work.
Yeah.
I'm in a similar spot where it's like you fight to do all this work, and then suddenly you realize it's working, and it opens up your future. Like,
I just sat there on the weekend and stared at a tree for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I think people probably thought I was stupid, but I was like, I'm
That's
not
awesome.
thinking about anything. I'm just looking at this tree and how it moves.
Yeah.
I
That's
sound like
awesome.
Billy Madison.
Yeah. I think that's great, though. That's wise. It's what we all strive for.
Yeah, true. So like, I have so much more brain and like mental capacity that I'm very excited about that. So I'm not eager. Try not to like wish some time away, but I'm just like, I'm happier than I have been in years. Like probably even before Thrive.
Yeah.
If I really think about it, because like the first couple of years of managing digital are so stressful.
Yeah.
Chaos, and like maybe that was the most stressful. Not even really. Thrive was worse. And then Thrive came in, and that was a massive financial stressor. And now that's gone. And like the managing digital stuff is, I don't know, you can define how good it is, but I think it's great, and I'm happy with it, and it's profitable.
Yeah, I think it's really good. And like the more it'll be great for us to meet on that, because I've had some major internal growth, and then just people I've been associating with lately has helped me see so many things differently. And through all of that, there's I think a core value of what I think managing digital is compared to others that I think is your strength and superpower, and to like magnify and go more in on that is so good. And it's different than what other people do, and to keep you focused, I think, on that versus distracting away from it is going to open up major doors for you.
I don't think I told you this when you said it at the golf course, and I'm going to use one person's name, but I won't use the other person's name. But you were talking to a realtor about MVW construction and Mark Wilson, who I don't actually know. But the realtor was saying, yes, Mark is expensive, but you know that you're getting the best top quality work. And my head exploded. And I'm like, that's what I want. That's my reputation.
Yeah.
I want people to come to me because they know I'm expensive. But
I don't even think you're expensive.
I don't think I'm expensive.
But compared to like your nephew who knows a little bit about design,
and the
you're
girl
expensive.
with the camera around town, right? Like, you need to Like, I want people to know, like, yes, sure, it's going to cost more than that, but also it's going to be the best top quality work.
Yeah.
And I don't care what it costs then. And to kind of summarize that with what you also said, another thing about, like, it was for a different business, but I'm going to steal it, of like, I'm not who you come to if you are in trouble and you are sinking. You come to me if you have a yacht and you want to get a bigger yacht.
Yeah.
I changed the end of it because I couldn't remember how yours story ended, but like, those are my two things moving forward.
Yeah.
Like, elite excellence.
Yeah.
And it was funny, Hillary also said, like, your branding doesn't look like that. And I was like, it's funny because it's in our calendar to, like, redo it in the next 6 months. She's like, okay, cool. Anyway, so, like, I'm excited about where all this stuff is.
Yeah, that's exciting. I think, so I'm reading a book right now, Cal Newport, who has a deep work, and then his podcast is Deep Questions, but his latest book that just launched is called Slow Productivity. And there's a few things in it that you would love. One is called, like, right now we measure things with, like, pseudo productivity, which is like chaos and all these actions that make us look busy but don't actually matter. So part of it's about removing that and ignoring that. But the three main keys to slow productivity is do less things, work at a natural pace, and obsess over quality. And when I look at everything you've put into place, and Matt, what you want to do with Matty G Digital, it's basically that. It's like, you're going to do less things. You're going to work at a natural pace, which you do, and obsess over quality. And that includes the tenacity to actually get it done.
Yeah.
And I just see so many people with marketing go through all these waves of, like, this time it will be different. And then it never follows through. And they get frustrated and don't do it. And what you promise is for, like, the winners who want an edge, or people who want a bigger boat. It's like, you're going to do all those foundational things that everyone knows they should do, but they don't. And you do them at a high quality, consistent pace, and it works.
Thank you. Was your line, we're not losers that want to win, we're winners that want an edge?
Yeah, it's weird.
That's a better one.
Yeah, I stole that from my friend Tony Watley, who's in a group I'm coaching right now, and he has, like, he's huge in, like, the automotive industry. He lives in Houston, and he has, like, a massive podcast, and, like, but for him, it's like, I'm not helping people off the struggle bus. He's like, I'm here to help winners give an edge. Like, that's his value proposition.
If Tony does not have that trademarked, I'm going to steal it and use it. I'm not going to trademark it, but I'm going to go pretty hard. Like, at least I'm putting it on.
Oh, I think it's one of those open things that you probably can't trademark, but, like, that is what it is. And I know for me, in my business, I have worked a lot to, like, drag people off the struggle bus. And I still want to be the invitation to, like, help you off the struggle bus. But it works better. Like, the people I work with who are winners, who want an edge, like, appreciate and work with my advice way more. And then it works. Like, so, like, that's what you want to help with.
We joke all the time at home about, like, Meg will be like to the kids, like, well, like, it's all about having fun. And I like, if you're not first, you're last.
Yeah.
And we've said it so many times that Beckett knows the second part. So we just casually dropped it. Like, well, there's so many other places. There's second and there's third. And then I don't know if I ever told you, Foster one time said, like, the most important thing is having fun. He's like, winning is having fun. It's only fun if you're it's only fun if you're winning. And he just ran away.
Yeah.
Well, okay, fair enough. It's completely polar opposites.
Yeah.
And that's like, that's how I can maybe design the business. It's like, I need the Foster approach. It's only fun if you're winning.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Like, I think this is another conversation, but I heard, like, the guys on Overdrive talking about golf and how, they're competitive athletes, and they're like, there's just nothing better than golfing with your friend who's just choking, and they just love it. Just like, they just want to crush them that day. And, like, they have fun with that because and it's not about judging people or making them feel bad, but it's fun to win. And when you play with winners, people don't get mad and run away. They want to beat you next time, right?
Yeah.
So
It's funny. Hal's always said he likes golfing with all of us because we're not competitive and like we bust each other's chops, but it's not that like it's not mean spirited. I still think that we're so bad collectively at golf that there isn't that there is competition there, and it's like I want to win and I want to win, but also I'm more concerned about my own sport, frankly.
Yeah.
And I still am at the point with my friends where I want to see good golf shots all the time.
Yeah.
I love it. I love when my buddies
it's nice when people have good shots.
Honestly, I'd rather continue to do that than ever get to the point of being like a competitive person where I'm like not hoping they miss stuff. I don't want that. So, anyways.
Yeah, you want to win by being good yourself, right?
Yeah. We play like scrambles, the four of us. Those are fun. Those I'm like, I'm going for it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, this has been a great episode. Final one in Thrive, and we'll see where the future brings us. And that's our show. Matt, what do you want the people to know, and where can they find you?
I want them to go to mattygdigital.com and book a call.
Awesome. And I want them to go to profitcoach.ca and book a call with me. If you'd like to be on the podcast, please reach out to us, and we can make that happen at set it up at kawarthasmallbusinesspodcast.ca.